I'm going to talk about racism. Not racism itself, but being called a racist. Something happened the other day. I posted a tweet in response to something LeBron James had tweeted. And in response to that, I got called a racist. And what surprised me was my reaction to it, which wasn't new, but I hadn't really thought about it that much before. I'm 68 years old, and in my first 65 years, I was accused of racism 3 times. All 3 were spurious accusations. They were all mildly investigated because they really didn't make any sense. I won't go into the details. They're not really significant here. But even though I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, and I knew that what I was being accused of was just bogus, I still felt a sense of ill, being the fact that I'd been called a racist, that I'd been accused of racism. It's like somebody had hit me in the stomach, in the solar plexus, knocked the air out of my lungs. I felt sick. Each of the times. But then everything changed when I turned 65. Not because I got older, but because Donald Trump became president and I had voted for him. And then suddenly these charges of racism started coming ever more quickly. I think the first one was from a guy I had known for like a half century. We had known each other since we were 13. We'd gone our different ways, but we'd always kept in touch. And he accused me of racism because I voted for Trump and defriended me on Facebook. And I remember feeling that sick feeling again. My God, I've been accused of racism. And I really didn't feel good about it. But then, over the next couple of months, I just got accused of being a racist. Every time you tweet something, you know, you're a racist, you're this, you're that. And it got to the point where I realized yesterday, it's gotten to the point that not only do I not feel sick anymore when somebody accuses me of racism, I kind of laugh because it's so predictable. You know, when I responded to LeBron James' tweet, because he's an African American, because of the subject, I knew people wouldn't argue with me as much as they would just simply call me a racist, which is so much easier than actually pointing out where you're wrong. A couple people did, but most of them didn't. And many of the times, the tweets from other people who pointed out that I was wrong accused me of saying things I hadn't even said in the tweet. And it's not like they could, they misunderstood something. I mean, tweets aren't all that long. I don't know, I forget what the character length is, but it's hard to misinterpret, read into something, anything that's not there. And I won't go into all the details of that because that's not really what this is about. I'm not defending my tweet. I'm discussing my response to it. And I've been thinking about it, and there's an old economic concept I remember I learned high school, college, somewhere. I think it's called decreasing utility. And the concept is simple. You know, if you're thirsty or you're hungry and you're walking around in the city and you're really hungry and you see a hot dog cart and you go and you order a hot dog and you eat the hot dog and it tastes delicious. And then you say, well, maybe I'll have another one. So you eat a second hot dog, and it still tastes good, but not as good as the first one. And then you get a third hot dog, and that doesn't taste as good as the first one or the second one. And then you get a fourth one, and by this point, you're probably starting to feel stuffed. And then you have a fifth one, and now you feel like you're in a hot dog eating contest, and you're not taking care of your hunger now. It's like work. And then you have a sixth hot dog and a seventh hot dog, and before you know it, you're trying to not throw up. Not because hot dogs are making you sick, but the number of hot dogs are making you sick. That's the concept of decreasing utility. And I think there's an application similar to that with the use of language. If you call somebody, you get called a racist once, or 3 times in 65 years, it has a lot of impact. But if you're called a racist 65 times in 3 years, a lot of that impact is lost. And I think that's a shame, because I think it should mean something to be called a racist today. And the fact that it doesn't is a bad thing. But the reason it doesn't is because the term is just thrown around by everybody for everything. I mean, I've said, I don't know if it was something I came up with or something I read somewhere. I don't even remember anymore. But I've often tweeted or remarked, when everything's racist, nothing is racist. Because when everything's racist, then racism should be abnormal. It shouldn't be the usual. Even in the days of slavery, not everybody in the country owned slaves. Not every state allowed slavery. Slavery was abnormal in that sense. It should be the same way with racism. But it isn't today, because everybody, if you're white, you're a racist. And every time I pick up something to read, some academic at some university or college has, sat around and come up with some new thing that is racist that we had never thought was racist before. Trying to tell people they should work hard is racist. Or, I mean, I don't need to lay out all the examples for you. I'm sure you've all seen them. I mean, basically everything we do anymore, every aspect of our country is racist. The flag is racist. Betsy Ross' flag is racist. Sneakers are racist. I don't know. It just goes on and on and on. And it's at the point now, I pick these things up and I used to say, wow, this is unbelievable. Now it's like, what universities does this guy come from? I mean, they must sit around in faculty meetings and try to come up with ideas that they can, some new way to interpret something as being racist, so they can get it published and get a couple points on their annual evaluations and move forward toward tenure and promotion. It's a joke. When everything is racist, nothing is racist. Because racism, or accusation of racism, should stand out. But if everybody's racist, then racism is actually the norm. And it just loses its impact, at least for the people, white people in this country being called a racist. A lot of us, it's just, what used to sort of throw me for a loop now doesn't even impact me. Now I read somebody accuses me in a tweet that I'm a racist, and I chuckle or I laugh. I say, well, gee, what a surprise. And it happens all the time. Somebody says, I'm on Slate, on Facebook, and the article says X, and I say Y, and then one guy comes along and says, you're wrong. X is right, Y is wrong. And then I respond and say, well, yeah, but, what about this aspect? This is why I think Y is right. And then the next guy pops in and says, you're a racist. I mean, it's just, and at that point, maybe respond, and that's the end of the discussion, because there's no point in having a discussion at that point, unless you're going to sit around and defend yourself from being racist, and that's really a losing proposition. And I think this is really sad that we've come to this point in the country, because we've overused the term. We've eaten the 20th hot dog, and we're making ourselves sick. And a term that should have meaning, a term that when it's thrown around should have impact, is losing its impact because it is overused, because it is thrown around without regard for anything, to the point that, when everything is racist, nothing is racist. And that's a shame. But that's where we're at in this country today. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't, you can't live in this country and not agree with what the progressives want you to believe without being accused of being racist, or being homophobic, or being Islamophobic, or being sexist. Gee, I mean, if I tweet something about Ilhan Omar, that's pretty bad that she married her brother and possibly committed immigration fraud. I don't, the only issue there is what will I be accused of? Will I be accused of being sexist? Will I be accused of being racist, because she's a woman of color? Will I be accused of being Islamophobic because she's a Muslim? Or will I be accused of being a racist, sexist, Islamophobic? I mean, thank God the woman's not a lesbian, or you could. The trifecta is bad enough. You could, I don't know what you call it when you tap all three bases. But that's where we're at, and I think that's a sad commentary on what's happened to our society. Anything that gets overused loses its impact, whether it's decrease in utility. It doesn't just go for hot dogs. It also goes for words. And the more you use a word, the less it means. When everything and everybody is racist, then essentially nobody's racist. Because if I'm called a racist, I know that everybody else is being called a racist too. Even progressive white people get called racist on occasion. This person's a racist or that person's a racist. It's lost its meaning, and that's really sad. That's what's happened to our society. It doesn't bode well for the future. So that's it till the next video. Thanks for watching.